Yokoso minasai. Welcome everybody to the new European Bauhaus event here at Osaka World Expo 2025. My name is Professor Matti Kuittinen from Aalto University, and I will be facilitating this interesting 2-hour session about the beauty, aesthetics and inclusion in the built environment. So let's first have a look at today's program, which is here, and we have actually a pretty nice and full catering for you. We are going to start with a keynote by no other than the famous Sou Fujimoto, and then we will have 10 lectures in 20 minutes by myself and the esteemed Professor Kavatsoe. Then we'll hear greetings from European side about the European Bauhaus Academy, and after that it's time to get active in a workshop in which we will be exploring radical creativity and future skills. After that we have the last remaining treat for you, and that is that you will be taught new tricks by a famous Finnish young architect about how to work with old materials. And just as a reminder, we do have translation, so those of you who would prefer hearing the speeches in Japanese, you have been given these gadgets here on site, so kindly use these. And also our dear online audience, you will see the instructions for language options in WebEx here on the slide. So, that being said, I warmly welcome you to this event. But now, wait a minute. What is this Bauhaus that everybody's talking about? How is it related to this event, and what on earth is it? Just a very brief recap. Bauhaus was a famous design and architecture school founded 100 years ago in Germany. It became rapidly a groundbreaking and revolutionary design academia, but it was so radical and so creative that it was pretty fast shut down by the then Nazi government because it was too radical, too creative, but the legacy lived on. And now, in the 100th anniversary of the original Bauhaus, the European Commission set up the new European Bauhaus, which is an initiative that makes green transition in the built environment and beyond enjoyable, attractive and convenient for all. And the 3 keywords are here: beautiful, sustainable, together. So that is in a nutshell what the new European Bauhaus is. And of course we are going to explore it further today. But now, without further ado, I would like to welcome our first speaker. He's Sou Fujimoto, a famous architect from Japan and the designer of the Grand Ring here at Osaka Expo. And therefore, we could also call Sou Fujimoto as the Lord of the Ring. And he's not only famous as the designer of this Grand Ring, but he has won several international competitions also in Europe, and his famous projects include, for instance, the House of Music, Serpentine Gallery Pavilion, and Musashino Art University Museum and Gallery, just to name a few. So, Fujimoto-san, welcome. The stage and the screen, they are both yours.
Okay. Hi, good afternoon. I'm Sou Fujimoto, and I'm based in Tokyo, but I have an office in Paris and also China, Shenzhen. And I have been doing several projects in France and in Europe, Switzerland, and some other places in Europe, also in Middle East and China as well in Japan too. So today I will mainly talk about this Expo project. And yeah, I think that this project is like a beautiful, sustainable, and together. This is like a really relating to this Expo project too. And I was appointed to be the master planner of Expo on the spring of 2020. So it's almost like 5 years ago. And finally, now it's open. And it was a very tough process, and we worked very hard. But at the very, very beginning, I was thinking about what is the meaning of the Expo in this beginning of 21st century. And of course, as you know, the Expo itself started from 1851 from London. And then it was like the promotion of this like a revolution of the industrial, and many new things came out. And then, of course, the beginning of 20th century is more like a modernization, modernism, and a Bauhaus, and then a lot of new things came out. And 1970, that was one of the peak of the expo, I believe, that we had an expo in Osaka, and it was a huge success. But now, this is a 21st century, and a lot of new technology is invisible in a sense, and then a lot of those kind of things has been developed and then made up promotions independently by company by company. So I was wondering, what is the reason? What is the important fundamental meaning of the expo? And then that was the time, as you know, the beginning of 2020, April, that was the time of the pandemic. And we are in the middle of some uncertainties. And at the same time, almost like around that period, everybody was talking about division in the world. Of course, we were talking about the diversity. We are respecting the diversity, but if diversity ends up as the division and the conflicts, that was so pity, I thought. And then, that was a situation, global situation at that time. And now, it's still like that. And then I thought, in this situation, in this crisis of the world, the meaning of the expo is getting more and more precious because it's a place where so many countries, this time 158 countries, it's almost like 80% of the older countries. So many countries are come in one place, in such a tiny place, and then stay here for 6 months together to have the real communication. Over the COVID, we have more and more real, precious communication to see persons in reality and to see the situation, share the space in reality. So that kind of the precious opportunity to show, to make a message that diversity could have the unity together. So that was the things I thought at the very beginning of the process. So it is not about the design, it's not about kind of the shapes, but it's like a very basic concept. Sorry, it is in Japanese, but it says diversity and the unity. And then diversity, but at the same time, it has like a something unified. And then the world is sharing one important things. So that kind of things was a very, very starting point. And then I thought, of course, yeah, we discussed about the functional things, how to make a main circulation pass and how to protect people from the sunshine and the rains, to create those kind of the roof as a functions, but how we can create such a strong message to the world that this is the place, the expo must be, from now, the expo must be the place where diversity and unity are strongly integrated. And then I thought the most simplest shape, this circle, should be there. Of course, before that, functionally, those kind of the circulation paths must be very, very, like make a nice flow of the people, avoiding too much like a crowded situation. Even though today, yeah, so many people, so it's crowded, but still we have like the flow of the people. So those kind of the functional thinking was there, but beyond that, this circle shape should be the message, very strong message, that now the whole, so many countries, so many people are here in this place, and then connected to each other, making the communications. So this pure shape could be the symbol of the unity. And of course, this is also the symbol of the circulation of the sustainability. So that was the decision to make it not only functional master plan, but also really strong message and an important fundamental meaning redefine the fundamental meaning of the expo itself. Then I proposed to make it this grand ring in a wooden construction. This is rather easy decision. Decision itself was of course easy, but the realization was very tough. In this, I think in this more than 10 years, large-scale wooden construction has been really, really developed and has been really, really pushed, not only in Europe, but throughout the whole world. And I have an office in Paris for around 10 years, and I really felt that in Paris. And then I myself was also involved in like a skyscraper made by the wood. Those kind of the projects is like popping out a lot. And in Japan, on the other hand, we have such a long history, traditions of the beautiful wooden architecture, more than 1,000 years history. So it is really wonderful things to combine such a wonderful traditions together with the latest technology to create our future architectural proposal. That was the reason why I proposed wooden construction. And especially these joints. It's based on the Japanese traditional wooden construction. But of course, for example, in Kyoto, you will see Kiyomizu Temple, and then the famous stage, and then the whole structure under that is made by something like that. Columns, and then the beam sticking in, and then putting the plugs to fix it. And then traditionally, they used the wooden plugs. But in this scale, because the ring is huge, one around is 2 kilometers, yeah, you see, on reality. And then 30 meter wide, inside, inner side 12 meter high, and then outer side is a 20 meter tall. So it's so huge, much more larger than any of the traditional wooden buildings. So we need to update those kind of the plugs into the metal pieces. And then we had a really wonderful 3 Japanese leading contractor, and they started to make a mock-up and then destroyed them to do the experimental things to see what kind of conditions they have. And then after many like those testing, they developed like a new way, but based on the traditional architectures. So that's the situation. And it took many years, constructions, a lot of criticism about so much money, or what kind of uses and whatever kind of things, anything. But finally, it's done. One more thing is, this roof is not only the roof, but we planned it as roof garden or roof pathway, because in this island, now you are in here, in Yumeshima Island, this is a man-made island. If you are standing on the ground, you don't see the sea. Even though we don't have anything, like any built things, but you don't see the sea, because we have like the wall all around the island to block the like a big waves, or to fill the land within it. And that was the fact that I was really shocked. And I actually came here at the very early stage of the project. There was nothing, flat land, but we didn't see the sea. So that was pity. So I thought it's important to bring people up on the higher level so that people can see, look down the whole pavilions, as well as they can look out to the sea, Setouchi Seas, or the Osaka downtown, or Rokko Mountains. So those kind of the beautiful surroundings. So that's why we made a rooftop garden. And finally, it works very well. But when I came here, as I said, flat land, and then we were just standing in the middle, and almost like I didn't know what to do. And then look up the sky. This is the sky I took by my iPhone on that day, really beautiful sky. And then I thought, in future, in 5 years, we will have pavilions or something, many artificial structures, but whatever kind of the things came out, we couldn't compete against this beauty of the sky. So that was the moment that I decided this sky itself should be like the symbol and should be the identity of this expo. Then, after the visit, site visit, coming back, and then got onto the Shinkansen train, and I drew on my iPad. On this photo, just I took, draw this white surface, and then putting some dots. This is like a representation of the people to think about. Lifting up the edge of the grounding, as you see on reality, so that the sky will be cut out as a pure circle shape by the ring. And you will see this sky is like a beautiful one sky. It's not like a sky behind something, but sky itself as like a beautiful one object or a beautiful one, another earth are floating above you. And then the sky actually wrapping the whole earth. So from wherever you look up, it's the same sky. So it is like the symbol and the representation of the unity of the diversity, in a sense. And this was the renderings to show how the rooftop garden of the ring is. And then, as you see, in reality too, we plant those kind of the green flower gardens, and then the lower deck, some of the slopes going up to the upper deck. But you will see the entire edge of the ring will cut out the beautiful sky. And especially when you are going up around there, when you look down the whole expo site, then you will see entire circle as a pure circle. And then all the pavilions are within that. So it's like you are in front of the small earth. And then you will also see the beautiful sky above it. So that is the moment you will feel in this tiny place, so many different cultures, different peoples are together and looking up the same sky. So that is kind of we had a concept, diversity and unity, and here and there we have like the real experience to feel that concept. And now we have many photos because finally it's realized. And I was so impressed that the reality, real structures, and then real experience is so precious, much more different from what you see in the photo or what you see in those kind of things. Whatever kind of the technology will be there, but real experiences. You see something in your eye in front of you must be the most precious things. And then when you feel together with many other people, that must be the most precious things. And this is the ring. And then I did a master plan. So I did all the division of this sight line, and I intended to make it more like a complex shape, not like divided in a grid, but more like organically looking to the different directions, and then sometimes facing to these rings, but sometimes a little bit like separated, because I try to make the entire master plan not mechanical things, but more like an organic, like a whole entity, like a one cell in a sense. So all of those things is like all the different creatures are living together and then doing the interactions to each other, but finally creating the harmony as a whole. So that was the intention. And I designed the forest in the middle. That was also a very important strategy for the master plan, because what to put on the very central point of the master plan will show the philosophy and the visions for the future. And in 1970 Expo in Osaka, they put the Tower of Sun, and that was really beautiful and still remaining an icon even after 55 years. This is strong icons. But this is 21st century. So I thought it should not be any kind of the artificial things, but should have nature, natural something in the middle to represent the message that we will be together, live together with the nature in our future. And then finally, this is like a real forest. And then this whole ring is like a half artificial, half natural forest in a sense. And you will recognize when you step in under the ring, then the temperature gets really lower. And you also experience that when you step into the forest, the temperature will get lower because of those natural materials. And that's why I feel this is like the outer ring is like an architectural forest, and then this is like a natural forest. And then we have like a nice interactions because the wooden construction should have those cycle and circulations. When you cut the trees, then you plant the new trees. And then after 30, 40 years, then trees grows and then getting the carbon dioxide. And then finally, we can use it for the future wooden construction. So those kind of the cycle is the key for the sustainable future. That's why the wooden construction is really, really strongly featured. And then this is the water area. And we have like a water fountains and some things, the projections. So this is quite like important areas and surrounded by those rings. And diameter-wise, it's almost like 670 meters something. So it's so huge, but still is the scale that you can see from here to the other side. You can see the movement of the people. So you will see tiny, tiny people are moving around. And then you will recognize how, as a whole, like it is connected in a sense, but it is far away. And then still we are on the same locations. And that is, especially on the sunset, we will have especially on the sunset, we'll see how so many people, 10,000 people or 20,000 people on the site will see the same sky and quietly just waiting for the sun to come down. That must be really, really amazing moment. And we feel that we are on the same place, but we are different, but we are sharing something. So that is, I think, very important message, I feel. And then this is like the effect of lifting up the edge. It's not the flat. It gets up, and then you have like a different levels, and then you will see entire ring will cut out the sky as like a beautiful kind of symbol of the entire global ecosystems in a sense. And this is like the wooden construction. The world, finally, it is like a world largest wooden construction as a footprint. But you can see this kind of the simple kind of the structures, the compositions of the verticality and the horizontality, and then in a circle. So it's really reminds you as like the traditional Japanese structure, but in a very different scales. An amazing point is this space is really tall ceiling height. It's almost like a 20-meter high. So it's like a huge, how to say, cathedral or really dramatic. But the span of the column is almost like a 3.6 meter. It is like the residential scale in a sense. So in here, you will have two opposite scales. One is gigantic. One around is 2 kilometers, 20-meter ceiling height, almost like infinite feelings. And on the other hand, you will have those kind of the domestic and human scales. So even if you are walking in that kind of large scale things, you will feel really comfortable in a sense. And then you will see so many kids as sitting on the floor, on the ground, eating their lunch boxes and something. That will show how those like a big corridor. It's not just a highway or not just a huge corridor, but kind of a place for people to have a rest and they feel really comfortable. So the combination, because anyway, we have like a large scale urban situations and we have, each human has our own human scales. And how to integrate huge scales and then human comfortable together is getting more and more important. And that is also relating to the sustainability point of view, because the nature has always that kind of the strategy. Huge scale, but at the same time, each domestic scales to relates to each other. And then openness, this openness is also very important. This circle shape, in a sense, is too pure, too independent. So if it is designed in a bad way, this is just a too strong, independent, like an anti-human, and excluding everything like a wall. But we did try to design it really open, human, sometimes irregular, so that if you get closer, you feel it's like a nicely, positively blurring and open and like a light structure. But if you are getting zoom out, then you will easily see the strong message made by this pure circle. So again, in here, kind of the opposite, contradictional coexistence of strong shape of the circle and then open feelings of the boundaries are realizing in a coexistence. Lightings is also very beautiful, especially the wooden materials in the lightings is really, really nice. Artificial lightings and then natural lightings. So this is circle and the sun is going all around. So every time, every moment, the impression is different. And then we have such a beautiful roof garden. And now, this was rather like right after the opening, but now this area is open to the public too. So even in that kind of a huge scale construction and in the middle of the crowded expo situations, you can just lie on the grass and to have a rest, to sleep on the really tallest part of the ring. And then you will see, this is from the most highest point. Then you will see the entire rings as a pure circle, and then all the different pavilions representing the diversity of the world are there. And in an organic way, because some of them popping up, some of them in a different shapes, but everything's peacefully live together under the beautiful of the sky. And this time, this year, Expo 2025, I think from afterwards, it is defined as like the changing point of the construction from the steel to the wood. Because the first Expo in London, 1851, they made a crystal palace made by steel and a large-scale glass. And that was like a kind of a moment they showed like at the future. And then actually 20th century was the century of steel and the glass. And then during the whole 20th century, we of course developed a lot of different architecture style and creating the great things. But basically architectural materials, steel, concrete, glass was the major things. But now is the time, I feel, this kind of the really strong dominant architectural element is now changing into something new. And then especially for those natural materials is the key. So this year, of course, we made a master plan by the wooden construction. And then many wooden construction materials, pavilions are there, like a Spanish one, Italian, and Czech one, and many others. And also, even the structure is made by the steel, but those kind of the natural material finishes were there. So many wooden construction, wooden structures, so many wooden surfaces or bamboo or some other natural surfaces are there. So it is really like a historical changing point. Yeah, so we can remember 2025 as that kind of the changing point from the steel to the wood or to the natural materials. And then beautiful sunset. So you will see.
藤本さんが言ってた点灯は結構早めにするってこのことだったんですか？
ああ、そうですね。And after the sunset, even after the sunset, I think this is like the right position to see the sunset. Because in the sunset moment, you will see so many people. This was the first day, so you don't have so many. But now, so many crowded people on the western areas. And then eastern part, this side, I prefer that. Because you will see the beautiful water surfaces reflecting the beautiful sky. And then sunset is going down onto the ring. And then you will see so many people on it. So you will feel you are part of that. But at the same time, you are you. So independence, but at the same time, sharing that kind of an important moment together, in a sense. Lastly, sorry, I am running a bit out of the time, but lastly, this is the photo of the 1970 Expo. Kenzo Tange designed this huge roof. And then Taro Okamoto's Tower of Sun was there. And if you get closer, it was something like that. Circle-shaped sky was already there. And that was like a interesting thing because at that time, 1970, main interest of the people is more like these technology, new technology, industrializations, and economical growth. But Taro Okamoto said, no, this is not enough to focusing on those kind of industrializations. But the life, fundamental life, is more important. That was the message of this Tower of Sun. And finally, after 55 years, only this one is remaining. And then this time, the theme of this expo is the life. And I believe this life, theme of the life, is coming from this Tower of Sun. So we received the message from 1970, and then we try to develop it for the future. And I myself, not only this object, but this sky, which is also the representation of the beauty of the life and ecosystem and the earth. So together with this, I try to receive the message from this beautiful circle-shaped sky and then try to make it bigger and bigger so that so many people can be together under that and so many people can experience together and then bring it back to the place of the Osaka. So that is the message of the ring and the sky and then how we re-understand the previous expo and try to create the future. This is a photo I took from the airplane. And you can see it is really, really tiny place compared to the whole earth. It's just this one place. But in this tiny place, so many countries, now so many people from different cultural background are together in a unity. So I think this is like the strong hope for the world, strong message to the world that we can be together, even in that kind of the crisis of the division of the global situations. But we can say diversity of a background can be together, can be united to create our future together. So thank you very much. Thank you.
So Fujimoto, thank you very much. Very inspiring and very much needed message. We need to have unity in these troubled times. I couldn't agree more. By the way, how many of you have already walked the ring? Rather many. Has somebody actually been there during the sunset? A couple of hands, and I just checked that it's 7:05 tonight, so you can still make it. But just to get to know each other a little bit more, who is here for at the Osaka Expo for the first day today? There are some. Has somebody been there many times already? A few? Yeah, it's something that you really can't cover in a day. Just out of curiosity, do we have any architects in the audience? Quite many, yes. Do we have somebody who is working in construction projects, perhaps? Yes, super. And then, because I'm from Aalto University from Finland, and we have lots of international students, and some of them are coming also from Japan, I'll be super excited to ask, is anybody an alumni of Aalto University? Has anybody ever visited to Aalto? Oh, great! Super, welcome so much. Now, thanks for that, nice to get to know each other. Let's now move forward in the program, and the next thing that you will be hearing is 10 lectures for the Anthropocene. And with me, I would like to invite to the stage Professor Yoshiyuki Kawazoe. Please. So, Professor Kawazoe is working at the University of Tokyo. He's an architect and a designer and a professor, and he's running his own Kawazoe lab. And what I find very nice in the description of the work and your team's website, I'm going to read it because I think it's very beautiful. It says, the world is always full of confusion. In the design environment, we hope that architecture can serve as a guidepost, pointing us in the direction we should go. I think that's very nice. So welcome, Professor Kawazoe. So, next we are going to talk about the Anthropocene and how we, two professors, feel that what are the new skills or new viewpoints that should be taught to those who are in charge of designing and maintaining and making decisions in the built environment. So, what is actually the Anthropocene? It's a word that maybe we've heard a number of times, but let's have a brief recap of what is the Anthropocene actually. It's a geological event, and it's the latest event during which the humanity are actually leaving a permanent trace on our planet's geological repository. I mean, heavy metals, nuclear waste, climate change, microplastics, all this is going to be permanently recorded in our planet. And this is, of course, pushing the planet much beyond its carrying capacity. And that's why we, the designers and maintainers and thinkers of the built environment, we must learn new things. And that's what we are here to talk with Professor Kawazoe. So, the first lecture that I will be presenting, and then we will be hearing from Professor Kawazoe, so we will be going one by one. I suggest that the first lecture that we need to teach ourselves is how to build for the growing human population. As the population is going towards 11 billion, that of course comes with the need of new houses, new safe and sustainable homes. But the thing is that we need to have 2 billion new homes by the end of the ongoing century. In addition, we would need to repair 3 billion existing buildings. This is the largest construction project ever. We haven't been building anything like that in our past. And I would also like to say that maybe this is the largest known construction project, at least in our solar system. So, this construction project will define two things. First of all, how safe and sound it will be for the future generations to live on this planet. But secondly, as this is accelerating the use of materials for construction, it will greatly set the course for climate change, biodiversity loss, and all other things in which the human activities are pushing us beyond the planetary boundaries. And therefore, I think it's so important to think about how to do homes in a safe manner for humans and non-humans alike. Professor Kawazoe, how would you approach
Thank you very much. At first, I'm very happy to be here, and thank you very much for the invitation to very good opportunity here. So I'd like to introduce Japanese situation for further collaborations. And first thing is housing. And in Japan, the average life expectancy of wooden housing is in 1997, it's almost 45 years is a sort of a lifespan average housing. And in 2011, it's 65 years. So it's very interesting. In 40 years, the length of housing, how to say, getting longer of 20 years. So I think the quality of housing is not so different from in these 15 years, but some change has happened. I don't know what is the reason, but so I think it could be a very good comparison between you and us. I mean, the situation is changing. And also in Japan, this is Hokkaido Island, it's very cold, and this is very hot. So in this country, we have very cold area to the very hot area. So the first one is the longer lifespan of housing, and the second one is sort of a big range of climate. And if we 1 + 2 equal, we need to have, we should be a nomadic nation to have 2 or 3 houses for 1 person or for 1 family. So it could be, we need to change our lifestyle according to very big stock of housing and a wide range of climate.
Well, that's certainly quite an interesting viewpoint to this. So let me introduce my third lecture that I suggest that we should have. And it's related to weather, as you spoke about the weather. And I'm afraid that we need to prepare for a very, very uncertain future when it comes to daily, monthly, or yearly weather. In addition to global warming, I suppose that we also need to be prepared for regional cooling. And this, of course, is rather, complex for the designers of houses and buildings in particular. Because the basic function of any building or any room, such as this one, is to protect us from the elements, from rain, from wind, from snow, or too much heat. So how should we build buildings so that they can survive centuries in the changing climate? So another finding that we in Europe in particular are thinking at the moment is that the latest scientific reports on the Atlantic sea current suggest that there can actually be a risk that these are fading out. There has been a recent publication that suggests that this sea current that is taking warm air and warmth from the equator up to the north of Europe could have a 59% probability of collapsing before 2050, and even 95% probability of collapsing before the end of the century. This is, of course, uncertain, and we hope that it's not going to be like this. But if there is a chance that it could turn into this direction, then it would mean that in the north of Europe it would be very cold. In the southern hemisphere, the dry and the rainy season would shift, and everywhere there would be 1 additional meter of sea level rise. So even if this wouldn't be realized, my point is that we have to plan at the same time for global warming and regional cooling or even further sea level rise. And this is so important because the built environment is a very long-lasting asset. It should be there for centuries. So that's something for the future generations to grasp.
It's very interesting. And also, maybe going to the next. So, yeah, it's very interesting. So we have very cold areas with so many snows, and also we have very hot areas, almost tropical weather. And we have mountains, I think Matti-san likes so much, and we have very long sea lines. So in the 20th centuries, technology tried to cover the gap of climate, or gap of the region. But, and so we have only 1 building act to cover every area from north to south, from mountain to sea line. But in this 21st century, it is a little difficult to cover by the power of technology. So my proposal is to change the Building Act according to the region. If going to the north part, the insulation should be so strict, but maybe we don't need so many ventilation because it is so cold. And if we're going to the south, of course the insulation is we need, but ventilation is mandatory. So this is just an example of 4 cases according to the region of Japan. And if we change, if we have each building act on each region, it could create original scenery or original sort of landscape. And then it could be a very good attractive point for the maybe tourists, or it could be the motivation to have several housing all around these areas. So this could be, the climate should change the design or design code of the area.
So you mean more sensitivity to building design and also to building codes. That's going to put the politicians and civil servants into work. I assure you, I've been working at the ministry for 7 years, so I know how it runs or doesn't run. Okay, so I would suggest that we also should have a lecture or a new reskilling on how to decarbonize the material palette that we are using for construction. And let me explain it. Here are the emissions from the production of cement, aluminum, plastic, and steel by 2050 in conventional methods, going up over 900 gigatons. Of course, that doesn't mean much, but if we draw the line of total global carbon budget for 1.5 degree warming, which is less than 250 gigatons, we can see that the emissions from these 4 basic materials is almost 4 times as much as the entire global budget. And this budget here, it's not just for construction materials, it's for everything. Luckily, however, our industries are doing their work and they are learning new ways and getting finance for making new ways of products and utilizing energy efficiency in the production and also energy that's to a greater degree decarbonized, so cleaner energy. But with the help of these, we can get down, but not sufficiently. So there is still too much emissions. And scientists have suggested that with very strong and radical measures of circular economy, the emissions from these 4 basic materials that are mostly used in construction could be pushed to 300 gigatons. But as we can see, unfortunately, that's still too much. This is only one of the reasons why it unfortunately looks like the 1.5 degree goal is no longer realistic, or at least we are going to overshoot for quite some time. The next line of defense is here. That's the total carbon budget for 2 degrees of global warming. That's slightly over 1,000 gigatons. But why this is so important for those who are thinking of the built environment is that whatever remains between this and the 2 degree carbon budget is all that's left for all other human needs. And that's why I think that the concept and the ideas behind the new European Bauhaus are so important, because those who are in charge of making decisions for the built environment or designing or building the houses can do so much good and leave more of the budget for other important human needs. So there is a great opportunity to be doing really something good in the construction sector if we can do it with minimal use of resources. So that would be my lecture.
Yeah, it's very interesting. And Mathieu-san is commented on about the timing of the production. And I'm comment about the after production. And this is the output of the research by our laboratories. And sorry, each graph is a little small. And so the vertical one is go up is old, and this is down is feels new, something new. And right is unfavorable, and left is favorable. So I showed each image for the participants, and I, how to say, expect something here, I mean, old and favorable. but the output is, result is, this one is old and unfavorable, or some is new and favorable. So this is an independent experiment. So most of the people feel something, if they see something and if they feel new, then it is equal to favorable. And if some person feels old, is mostly related unfavorable. So I would like to change, I would like to find some materials which is old and which is favorable. And there's only one example is these ones. The botanics or moss is this part, old and favorable. But I think only this result, it is something difficult to translate into architecture language, but we may have some hint in these areas with botanics is inspires old feeling and also very positive impression.
Well, that's interesting. Yeah, moss and botanics, super cool. And this leads me to my next lecture, which is that I think that we should also teach ourselves and our colleagues of how to be nice neighbors. And now I'm not just referring to the human neighbor next door, but I'm talking about the non-humans. Because as already reminded, we use half of the annually extracted raw materials on the planet to construction every year. And as the population grows, we need to consume more and more and more to build those 2 billion new homes. So at the moment, the use of construction materials is growing faster than the global population. But the materials do not come from vacuum. They actually come from the homes of animal and plant species, from the homes of non-humans. And that's why we can say that at the moment, 90% of the biodiversity loss, actually, according to United Nations, is attributed to the extraction of raw materials. And this leads us to ask the question, what is it to be human ultimately? Are we just a planetary scale construction worker who is building something for for ourselves? Or could we consider ourselves as being one of the nice neighbors in the neighborhood? There is actually the Global Biodiversity Framework that suggests that by 2030 we should preserve 30% of the land and sea area for non-humans. That's in 5 years. So I think that's a good goal for starters. What do you think?
This theme is the most difficult theme you gave us. The theme is non-human. And Matti-san have come to Japan so many times. And do you know this, the Moss Temple?
Yes, Saihoji, super beautiful.
You have visited.
Yeah.
So, as you know, this has a very long history. This is one of the oldest temple in Kyoto area. And during the history process, maybe this temple is not so used. Not abundant, but very close to that situation. Then moss grows up because not so many people are coming. Then this moss grows up sort of unintentionally, but this space is very beautiful and fantastic. So many VIP people around the world, like Steve Jobs or something, coming to this place to, experience this space. So this is a very unique example which non-human creatures changed the architecture. So we are understanding the meaning. The architecture is not designed not only by humans, but some non-human creatures may create the space. So this is a very good example.
It's interesting that, as you said, the beauty emerged when humans left. My next or final lecture would be about beauty. What is beautiful, actually? This is a painting by Finnish artist Jani Leinonen, and he has made a collage of something that look alike the logos of famous companies. And he has created a phrase in which he tries to sort of like admit or say that our overconsumption is really pushing the planet towards many tipping points, whilst we were just, as he puts it, wanting to have some fun. So we didn't intend to, destroy the only habitable planet that we know of, but it seems to be going into that direction. And today, I think that why we should have a lecture on what is beauty in architecture is that, unfortunately, way too many buildings are made in a toxic manner. And I mean that they are made from materials that are very harmful for the environment. For instance, as everybody knows, conventional concrete, conventional steel, glass, plastics, to name just a few for the starters. So we should think that, is it beautiful to just create cool buildings that have great shapes and spaces if we cause collateral damage beyond the carrying capacity of our planet? I don't think it's cool. And hence we should learn a new way of looking at what is beauty underneath the surface, however shiny or rustic the surface may look like. But how is it made of? I think there we should discover new ways to architectural beauty or aesthetics.
Yeah, thank you. And I would like to point out the importance of myth as a rust. And today's Fujimoto-san's keynote speech is also related to the maybe myth of this area. So this is we call Jichinsai. Jichinsai is in English groundbreaking ceremony before the starting of the construction. But the meaning of this term Jichinsai is not breaking, but make the ground calm down. So we don't break, but we calm down the ground. Mm-hmm. So I think not only Japan, but in every area, every country, each area have some sort of a myth or some customs of architecture when they start construction or when they finish whenever, whatever. But this kind of locality or sort of cultural imagination is the very key essence of architecture. Even technology grow up and even technology covered everywhere. But such kind of the existence of each region's culture is very key essence for the civilization. So this kind of local myth is the final key point I would like to point out for the new age of architecture.
So groundbreaking new customs. That sounds very nice. So these were our 10 lectures that we suggest for starters of how we should reconsider our ways of looking or making or taking care of the built environment. And we suggest that the humanity shouldn't be just the planetary scale extractor of resources, but we could grow up and maybe return to the idea that we can be doing some good for the planet and being one of the nice neighbors that supports and probably acts in a regenerative manner that is not destructive but part of the solution of a planetary healing. In a similar line, as Sue Fujimoto pointed out in his presentation, that the shape of this Osaka World Expo's Grand Ring can be something that brings people together and supports diversity. So I think that we definitely need to have that so that not only different people groups, but also humans and non-humans can live peacefully on this planet. So these were 10 lectures in 20 minutes or so. Thank you very much for your attention. And next, we will have a video guest, Professor Andrea Kutnar. She comes from the University of Primorska, and she is the coordinator of the European Bauhaus Academy Alliance, a group of universities and institutions who are trying to do what we just presented with Professor Kavasoy. So Professor Kutnar is at the moment in Europe, but he had time in her busy schedule to record this video message to us. So let's hear.
Good morning, good afternoon. My name is Andrea Kutnar, and I'm coming from Slovenia, from University of Primorska. I'm coordinator of the new European Bauhaus Academy Alliance that aims to train, reskill, upskill construction ecosystem in Europe and beyond to achieve decarbonized building stock. As we look ahead, we wish for the new European Bauhaus Academy to keep growing, and today I am pleased to inform you that we are actively seeking new partners in Japan who share our commitment to sustainability, inclusion, and aesthetics. In particular, we are looking to connect with technical universities, research institutes, and networks of professionals operating in the building sector. To set this cooperation in motion, the NEB Academy Alliance will be organizing 3 additional events over the summer. These gatherings will offer opportunities to connect with like-minded individuals and organizations, learn from one another, and explore concrete forms of partnership for the future. If you are interested in being part of this initiative, I warmly invite you to register your interest via this survey. And I wish you a successful event today.
So, in other words, if you would like to hear more, learn more, or maybe get involved in the new European Bauhaus Academy, here's the QR code where you can, through which you can register into these 3 events that are going to take place on June 25th, July 24th, and August 21st. So take your time to get a good shot of the QR code, and it would be great to have many participants also from Japan and other Asian countries, because after all, it's one planet that we are talking about. And in addition to this, there are already existing courses in the new European Bauhaus Academy. So here on the left-hand side QR code, that's going to lead you to a page that has lots of different online courses if you are interested, and just can't wait until the 25th of June. You can already start looking at some of them. If you are interested in learning how to calculate climate impacts, the carbon footprints and carbon handprints of buildings, there's already an existing course for that. And if you want to have New European Bauhaus podcasts to listen while you are, I don't know, vacuum cleaning your house or taking your daily run, they are over there on the right-hand side QR code. So just an example of some of the materials that the New European Bauhaus Academy already can provide to you. But now, you have been very patient, waiting for the super exciting next thing, which is a workshop that we are going to have, in which you also can have your say, because this is about to be interactive and have the inclusiveness component in it. So it's my great pleasure to invite 2 of the very cornerstones of Aalto University's New European Bauhaus team, Enni Äijälä and Sini Koskimies. Please welcome on stage. And I will just say that Enni is the senior specialist in outreach and design, and she actually has a designer background, and I just heard that she has designed ceramics for Japanese markets. And Sini is she's a communication manager at Aalto University School of Arts, Design and Architecture, so she knows everything that there is to know about what we do in that field, and she describes herself as a layman designer. And that's a very nice way to put it. But Enni, Sini, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Matti. Thanks for the introduction, and welcome to this part of this session. And yes, it's a miniature workshop, but you don't need to be afraid, because we only have a couple of very easy tasks for you. So don't worry. In this part of the program, we want to dive into some skills, some future skills that we feel that are necessary if we want to get to a future which is within planetary boundaries. And we will also introduce you to something called radical creativity, which is a notion that we are quite excited about in Aalto University, Finland. But before we dive into these 2 topics, I'm going to give you a short introduction before letting you have your say. And we actually heard quite a lot about the scale of the problems of the built environment and the construction sector in the professors' dialogue. But just to give you a couple of shocking new or old facts and figures, I just want to continue to say that it's actually a huge issue that we're dealing with. Because, for example, during this during which I have been speaking, the construction industry has already poured some 60,000 tons of concrete within all of the sites around the world. And in just one day, it will be consuming 250,000 tons of plastics and 1 billion tons of steel. And the construction industry globally is responsible for 39% of the world's entire carbon emissions, as you already heard from Professors Kuittinen and Kavasoe. So really we are dealing with a very, very escalating problem, and new solutions are desperately needed. But maybe one of the things is that when it comes to new solutions, we are often quite short-term aligned. So basically, we are replacing often harmful processes and materials with just less harmful practices. So these less bad options are really not enough. So even though we are learning to reduce, reuse, repurpose and recycle, but still we need more. We need radically new ways to actively contribute back to the ecosystem. So we need restoring, renewing, and we need regenerative measures, as we have also heard in yesterday's sessions and today's session as well. So a major shift in how we operate is needed. And the question is, how can we actually do this major shift? Because we are talking about structural and systemic issues. We're talking about transitioning from an unsustainable way of life to a sustainable way of life, and this means that we should influence a complex set of interconnected powers, which are often very ambiguous and contradictory, and we really don't have that many tools to address these issues. So we need the tools. And society is very accustomed to looking to the natural sciences and engineering when it comes to solutions. But actually, we should recognize that these disciplines, although they are very good disciplines in optimizing and driving operational processes and innovating, but they are not very good when it comes to paradigm shift and when it comes to our mindsets. So when we want to change the mindsets and the values of people, then we actually should be looking at completely new disciplines, such as the creative fields, for example. And it's very important to understand that we're all in this together. So even though there are lots of professional designers and architects in the room, and of course you are the ones who are making concrete decisions about these things, but actually we're all very much responsible, because it's about our homes and it's about how we want to live, how we choose to live, and what are the values that we want to cherish. So we need action, and the first skill or the first step and the first action might be to start envisioning an inspiring future within the planetary boundaries. What could our buildings and environments look like if we truly respected our planetary boundaries? And we have a couple of examples from our Aalto University researchers, how they have started in envisioning an inspiring future. So we're going to see 2 short video clips, and after that you can start imagining your own future within the built environment. And first we'll visit actually Professor Matti's tiny home. It's a tiny house which minimizes environmental impact and maximizes efficiency throughout its life cycle, and every little detail is thought through in Matti's home, from raw material choices, space utilization to lifespan issues. So let's have a look and see where Matti lives. One more.
This is my tiny home called Shadow. The central space serves for 4 different purposes, and that's why I have the curtains on the walls, so that I can close off and open those parts that are needed. So here is my office. This is a reused countertop, and then my home library, of course. Even minimalists can love books. The bedrooms or the sleeping modules are done in the style of Japanese capsule hotels. So there are 2 separate modules on top of each other. That's more than sufficient space for sleeping, and it's a good way of saving space overall. We have the sauna on the other side, of course. This sauna is super small. It's only 1 by 2 meters in the floor area, but it has 2 floors, so you can sit on top on the stove.
So I believe Matti is trying to live a life as sustainable as possible in this day and age. Of course, maybe the future will bring even more possibilities for a sustainable life. But another example, we have another short video clip, and it's about designing with more than a human approach. So let's have a look at the Alusta Pavilion, which is our researchers Elina Koivisto and Maiju Suomi's project. It's a sanctuary for pollinators and people in the city. Its form emerges from the collaboration of plants, visitors, natural processes, and time. And the pavilion uses clay, plants, and even fungi to help maintain natural cycles and provide shelter and food for insects. And let's see if I can get the video rolling. So our researchers Elina and Maiju wanted to spark discussion about life which is not so centered around humans and how we could support biodiversity also in the city. But now it's your turn. So it's your turn to imagine what good life within planetary boundaries might look like. So we have distributed some small leaflets on all of the chairs. And now I would like to ask you to have a look at the questions that are behind the leaflets. They are supporting questions which you can use and start thinking either by yourself what kind of answers you might find to these questions, or then you can have a little discussion with the person next to you and share your thoughts. Because we feel that if you can imagine a good future and then you can share these ideas with others, then that's a superpower. And Enni, do you want to add something to the assignment?
Absolutely. First of all, I want to say that imagine what good looks like. I think that's so important to be able to imagine. And thank God, it's a strength that we can all develop, and that is actually what we are doing today. And I'm really happy that we have 3 good examples of projects that are doing something that has not been done before. So the clay pavilion, Matti's home, and also the Grand Ring. So, and dear online audience as well, please participate, discuss if you have somebody there, or then have a thought by yourself. So what would your home, your neighborhood or workplace look like if we lived within the planetary boundaries? So we want you to imagine yourself in the future where all the necessary changes we heard about today have already happened. So think about what's changed at your home, who lives with you, what happened at work, how are the office buildings used outside the office hours, or then what about your home street or your home park? Or then you can discuss that which idea or insight from today's talks inspired you the most. So please do, we will give you about 5 minutes to discuss a person next to you. You don't need to make any notes. And if you wish to, you can also think about just by yourself. 5 minutes starting. And please do remember that you don't have to answer all of these questions. You can just pick up the ones that are the most interesting for you. Okay, thank you. Let's move on. So envisioning the future and sharing that with others, that was our first step. And I'm sure you have envisioned a beautiful, beautiful, amazing future for all of us, so thank you for that, arigato. And now, let's think how we can move from those visions to real action, because real action is something that we need these times. So what would that mean in practice? And as said, at Aalto University, we have developed an approach called radical creativity. And it's a mindset, and it's also a set of tools to help you to experiment, use your imagination, embrace surprises, learn from failures, and make ethically justified decisions as well. So, what is radical creativity? Radical creativity means not just making small changes or following even step-by-step plan. It's about transformative change that shifts the whole big picture. It means not fitting into existing structures. Instead, it takes courage to break boundaries. It absolutely not is, it's not business as usual, so instead it involves a high risk of failure and not always having existing processes to follow or even clear goals. Instead, the path is often unclear, it's messy probably, and that's at least what we see is where the new ideas can come from or merge. It's not either limited to one field or education. Instead, we need those across fields thinking and doing. And I think a wonderful example from Japan is Team Lab art group. I love their work. So, as said, radical creativity, it's a mindset, but it's also a set of skills. And it's something that you can even develop, and or all of us can develop and practice. And it's available for all. So in that leaflet, we also have a QR code to the Radical Creativity course that it's open for everybody. But next, we will present to you a set of skills that we at Aalto University believe are crucial when we are shaping the sustainable future. And today, what we are asking from you is that you will vote for the skills that you find the most important or necessary or inspiring, skills that you believe that you need to learn to make transformation. So, skills that make that vision that you were just talking right with your partner or with yourself, that skills that make that vision to come true. And we have already pre-selected a set of 8 skills for you to vote for. And I'm sure that you find some skills are missing, so you are also welcome to add your own suggestions to this skill pool. But let's first go through all these skills. So skills for the future. Radically creative thinking, the ability to question the status quo. 2, change and resilience, the ability to cope successfully with unexpected situations. 3, learning through failure. The courage to experiment and prototype. And I think the prototyping is a really crucial part, that it makes our visions come true when we create demos and protos that others can experience.
And our colleague Jaakko is probably expecting some unexpected situations in the photo.
Yeah, that's true. 4, active listening, the ability to build common understanding. Curiosity and critical thinking, ability to ask what if. 6, cross-disciplinary collaboration, the ability to combine different types of persons, knowledge and perspective. And last two, vision and futures thinking, to imagine futures, and that's what you have been doing the whole day. Designing within planetary boundaries and learning principles of circular economy. So these are the skills that we have pre-listed for you, and we know that you have many other thoughts or skills that we would need to learn in the future. So we are really interested in hearing from your point of view that what skill is missing from this list. So, next, it's time to vote. On this table, we have 3 similar posters. So, we want you to take a sticker, 3 stickers, vote for 3 of your favorite skills that you think are the most important to make your vision come true. And place the sticker on the poster, or 3 stickers. And what I'm waiting for is that if you have an idea of a skill that is missing, write it on the post-it note and leave it on a poster. That's it. That's all that we are asking from you. So go and vote. And just to recap, I will put the skills also on the presentation here, so you can see them here as well. And also our online participants can see them then.
Hallo? Wo sind die Sticker?
Please leave us a note as well. Only 3. You have to pick 3. And while you are voting, I want to remind you that we are going to serve some food and some beverages for you, cocktails later on. So we will reward you for your good thoughts and visions. And sorry for the online participants, we cannot offer drinks for you. You should have been here, just saying.
I think futures thinking is getting a lot of votes, and also curiosity and critical thinking. But otherwise they're distributed quite evenly. There are also some post-it notes, and maybe you want to check them out. What are the skills that we've missed?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. There's quite a lot of on vision and futures thinking skill. That is my favorite skill, I have to say. We need, all right, sorry, yeah. We need that skill. Also, yeah, you're absolutely right, Sini. Curiosity and critical thinking is the other one. And maybe then, yeah, radical creative thinking. Oh, lovely. This is really good. Thank you, whoever put this here, because this is absolutely what we need. System thinking. Lovely. And also more than humans thinking. Thank you so much.
Nice to see that all the skills are getting at least some votes.
Yeah.
So we had time to introduce you to these skills, but obviously we couldn't dive deeper into them. But if you want to do so, then please visit the Radical Creativity open online course, which is free and open for everybody. It can be accessed from around the globe, and you can find it through this QR code. So please visit or take the QR code and visit the site. And there are also some other NEB Academy courses in the same page, so you can find other stuff there too as well.
Exactly, because this was just scraping on the surface of radical creativity. So with these words, thank you for participating to our workshop. And yeah, mini workshop. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sini and Enni. I think it was very nice to get active, and that's actually what the new European Bauhaus is all about, that we all have our say and everybody's view are important. So by collaborating, we can do good things. But next, there is something that's quite special in my view. It's namely Jaakko Torvinen. He's a Finnish architect. He's actually originally from Finnish Lapland, you know, where we have the northern lights and reindeers and so deep snow that you really don't know where the nearest shop is. But he's now doing his doctoral research at our university, and he's working with these weird formed, curvy and misfit trees. And I will not reveal everything, but he will be teaching you a couple of his new skills. And he's the guy who is teaching robots to use chainsaws. So, Jaakko, please, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Matti. And yes, hi, I'm excited to be here and honored. Thank you for inviting me. And yeah, what Matti was talking about misfit wood or weird-shaped wood is this kind of timber that I'm always carrying with me, or then just trying to find from somewhere. Yes, my presentation will be in 3 parts. First, I'm going to show about what is where my inspiration comes from, and then secondly, I'm going to show some of my works, and then lastly, I'm going to show you the live demonstration how to use 3D scanning and then AR, augmented reality, for sketching or designing. And that I'm a little bit nervous since it's my first time that I show it live, but it should be totally okay. Thanks for the technicians here. I forgot this one totally. Yeah, this is Little Finland. I'll talk it a little bit later. So, where my inspiration comes from, I think we as designers and everybody should look to the history where we were building and designing more with the nature, and not too much to force the material to be something that we want, but just take it as it is and use it cleverly. For example, Sami people in Finland who were using curvy wood parts to create these arches for the coda structures. Or in northern India, where live roots are used for bridges. Back in Scandinavia or Nordics, where we used to use L-shaped wooden parts to create cantilevers, for example, to balcony or then the water gutter. Or instead of trying to use different shapes, using some irregular wood parts instead of straight pieces, like in this Danish example. Or similar idea in West Africa, in Benin, where also load-bearing columns are these curvy wood parts. And vernacular architecture from also West Africa, where these Y-shaped three parts are used as columns. But what is truly fascinating for me is this naval architecture from the time when the ships were still made from wood. And people were looking for certain type of tree parts to use as part in the different places in the ship. So instead of trying to form something from the wood, they were actually searching for certain part, or then later on they were actually starting to grow them in certain shape for the inventory for the future. So all this inspires me in my designs, and this is building called Little Finlandia. It was designed to replace Alvar Aalto's Finlandia Hall during its renovation, and it uses natural trees with branches still intact as load-bearing structure. And the idea was to bring a forest to the city. And as I remember the place before this time when I was designing it, there was actually a small forest. So I thought that it's fun to bring it back. But also just to be somehow resource efficient, not to cut down too much from the timber that we are taking from the forest, but use it as it is. And this building is actually designed for disassembly, and next year it will be disassembled and moved to next place to serve as a school. So I was choosing with my colleagues all the trees from the forest, and as Matti said, that I'm used to walking in a snowy forest, like in Lapland. The snow might be up here while I'm walking there. Luckily, this time it was only to this, and we were choosing 110 trees to be felled down. But the snow was actually a good thing, not for the walking on the forest, but felling the trees to avoid the branches to break, as I wanted them to be intact and create this forest-like atmosphere. But like contemporary way of using wood in architecture and construction, normally we would have used maybe glulam. But if you think about the resource efficiency, now we are using almost like 100% of the felled wood when we are using these logs. We were only debugging them with the high-pressure washer. But if it would be a glulam or even sawn timber, we would need double or triple amount of resource for that, because when we are cutting it, we lose some material. Planing, we always lose material. So that was something that I and we were thinking while designing this building. But mainly it was because I just love the actually how the wood as it is looks like. The other project that we did with wood program students is Katve Pavilion, a katve meaning shade or shadow in Finnish. And it's same principle, using natural trees as load-bearing structure. And in this time it was with branches also, that they are supporting also structurally, or at least corner bracers. In this project we were actually studying that what needs to be taken into account when we are doing the Little Finlandia project. So this was done simultaneously when we were designing Little Finlandia. We went to forest, took the trees from the forest and debugged them with a high-pressure washer, and also did some 3D scanning. So this was the first time that I was introduced how to make a digital copy of something organic shapes. And it was super fascinating to actually get 3D model of a real element like which has grown. And we thought that it's necessary to know that to make these structural connections. In this case, we 3D modeled the dovetail joints that were then carved with the CNC machine. In Little Finlandia with 95 trees, it was done a little bit more simplified manner, but anyway, this was the starting point. Then other project, I came with an idea of bundling some curvy wood parts inspired from historical ways of bundling weaker elements together to create columns. And in this case, I designed to cut two sides of the trunks to wavy surface to be kind of connected together. And I was lucky to have this 6-axis robot working for me, so I asked it to 3D scan it first. And that solved some of the issues that we always have when we are working with natural material, that how do we know where the actual workpiece compare to the machine. And when you are scanning it with the same machine that what you are actually then operating, it is actually quite a smooth operation. And as you can see that when it's a machine that cuts it, I mean, I could do this, but if I do it 3 times, they are always a little bit different shape or different pattern, but when the machine does it, then it's always repeated same, and then it can be connected to each other, doesn't matter what kind of piece it was originally. So what I enjoy most is working with this misfit wood, as I call them, like this misfit oak. I salvaged this one from a sawmill's yard, since they didn't know what to do with it. They had cut it down, but they didn't know how to saw it or what to do with it. So I made a digital copy and again started designing what to do with it. And this time, I taught to a robot how to use the chainsaw. So instead of doing it by myself, the robot was doing my work. The idea was to cut it to 4 and then turn it inside out to make a structure, like a self-standing structure, just made from one single oak trunk, which looks like this. This is inspired from old, at least in Britain, the crook frame is pretty similar in 2D, but this was now in 3D. And what is currently on my design desk, or actually under construction already, is this a tree sauna or wooden sauna. Puu in Finnish means both wood and tree, so this is puusauna. And it also uses the natural tree trunks as load-bearing structure for the roof. This time we are charring them, making them look like these black trees. 3D scanning in this project was a communication tool. The log constructor around 3-4 hours drive from my place, so I didn't want always to go there. So I asked the log builder to 3D scan the manufacturing hall now and then, so I could take a virtual visit and see what they are doing. And it was super fast. Like nowadays you can 3D scan things with your phone, iPhone Pro, or then Android, some models, which I'm going to show you just in a few minutes. So it was a communication tool, but it was also a design tool. I chose one of the trunks to be inside of the sauna, part of the staircase, and I 3D scanned the trunk so I could design that how it's actually fitting there. And now I'm going to show you how this works. Hopefully, I know it's going to work out well. So I opened an app that is called Scaniverse. It is a freeware, and there you can see yourself. So, for example, these small pieces of wood, I can start 3D scanning them. You can see always where red and white stripe is, and it hasn't scanned it yet. This technology uses LiDAR, the laser, but also the photo that is taking all the time. This will take half an hour, so probably I'm not going to use the whole time here. I'm going to stop it. But as you can imagine, I have already 3D scanned those same and several other logs. So depending on how much time you use for 3D scanning, you get more details on it. And then what you can do, which is super fun, is that you can use AR. So I'm going to place them just next to the friends of them. But I can also place them, for example, here, and scale them. Oh, where did they go? Ooh. All right, I'm going to start from the scratch because I lost them. I'll put them here. Oh, yeah. Where did it go? Yeah. So anybody could start designing with these, or at least having some funny ideas how to use them. All right. Well, basically that's it. That's what I wanted to show you. This is how I use technology, always trying to find out different ways of using it in some easy manner. Not trying to force it how to use always the material, or the tools, but just take advantage of it. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm just having fun here. All right, thank you.
Thank you so much, Jaakko. So now we get a glimpse of how to use old material and do new tricks with that. So this ends our session, but we are not quite done yet. And as a reminder, we will get some refreshments right after this. So as you will recall, the three keywords for the New European Bauhaus are beautiful, sustainable, and together. And now it's time for the together part. We will soon clear the room, bringing some tables and some refreshments. So it's time to discuss and to mingle and to make new friends and to maybe start planning for some interesting projects together. But I will just remind you that you are always welcome to check the existing course contents of the New European Bauhaus, and there are these 3 days when the New European Bauhaus Academy will arrange events here at Osaka World Expo. You are most welcome, and also do spread the word to your friends and colleagues. So, that being said, thank you very much, domo arigato, and let's have some fun after this. And also thank you to the online audience.
Thanks.